I want to talk to you about how to improve generations of lives. And this is a friend of ours, Peter and Angie Caro, that we had a nice chance to be able to meet with the other night. Um, Peter and Angie's daughter is with us today, Audrey. And Audrey and Josh are married, and they're all part of our team. But a good friend of ours with Steve Gibson created an organization called the Academy for Creative Enterprise. And he did very well financially years before that. And so he started a foundation. And that foundation, he said, how do I help people to start small businesses? And he was here in America, and they relocated. They actually relocated to the Philippines to help people start small businesses. And he created a course, and he created a foundation. And today, you flash forward to today, it's 30 years later, 30 plus years later, there are students all over the world now that are going through classes on how to start and run a small business. And all that was because Steve and Betty Gibson cared, and they knew that they had a secret, a strategy that they could do, and they literally took action. Can you imagine moving from the United States to the Philippines to get this thing started? Well, flash forward today, there's 950 chapters all over the world that teach people about how to start and have a better life with their small businesses. Now, one of those people that started 30 years ago was Peter and Angie Caro. And Peter and Angie, uh, they were broke. They didn't have anything. Um, and very, very humble story, because we got a chance to meet with Steve Gibson and their family at Steve's home the other night, and to have them tell the story of how they started. Um, they got married. They didn't have any money, and there was a little. Well, they'd had livestock in well, I wouldn't even call it a home. It's more of a shelter that they had, and they didn't have any money, so they call it a pigsty that they had, but that's one of the first homes they had. And Peter found out about the Academy for Creative Enterprise, and he wanted to go, and there was no room for him. They only had room for 25 people in the class, because it was an intensive class for a couple months. And he just says, I'll do whatever it takes to get in that class. I need to know this. It'll change my family's life. And Steve came back to him and says, we don't have enough beds. Would you sleep on, I'll let you in the class, but there's not a bed for you. Will you sleep on the floor? And he said, yes. And so he did whatever it took to make it happen. I think that they ended up finding a bed for him later, but he did whatever it took. It doesn't matter. He took whatever it took to get in that room to learn those secrets. And he's changed generations of lives. He's changed his and his wife's lives, their children's lives, and their grandchildren's lives, because he took action. And he started these little businesses, and these businesses have grown. And the most important thing is that his kids have had a better life. They've gone to school all over different places in Hawaii and Idaho and different places like that. And they're now grandkids. They're living a better life because Peter and Angie took action and made it happen. So this is an interview with them. And then we're going to have Peter's daughter, Audrey, who's with us, jump on with us. And I'm going to have her talk a little bit about that family as well as Josh. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's bring Peter on.
My name is Peter Caro. I'm from General Santos City, Philippines. I'm doing business like airline business, ticketing office. We do advertising business, and we have a newly built up business to the Sealand Taxi. Is an apps like Grab and Uber in America. Pag-start ko ng negosyo, tricycle driver. And then, I got a friend, yung boss ko. Nagsa-sideline din ako ng janitor. So, yung boss ko, narinig niya yung Academy for Creating Enterprise na mayroong Amerikano na nagtuturo ng negosyo, si Steve Gibson. And then, he gave me a number para makapunta ako ng Academy. So, doon sa Academy, malaking tulong yun sa pag-start ko ng negosyo. Kasi unang-una, wala man talaga akong alam sa negosyo. But because of the Academy for Creating Enterprise, doon ko natutunan paano magnegosyo. And I build the business easily, and until now, is still my business growing. Na nag-start ako ng family, I have nothing. So, wala kaming bahay na sarili. Nakitira lang kami sa kulungan ng baboy. Then yung trabaho ko, yung padjak driver. So, when I heard about the Academy for Creating Enterprise, through the help of Steve Gibson, doon ko natutunan yung paano magnegosyo. Actually, sa pagnenegosyo, hindi talaga madali. But because of the learning na natutunan namin doon sa academy, so na-build namin yung negosyo na napaka-smooth lang until now. Una-una, meron akong negosyo na cellphone business. So na nag-start kami ng cellphone business, hindi siya madali. But later on, we learned the business and then nagkaroon ako ng more than 10 store sa cellphone business. And then after that, nakita ko naman yung potential ng travel agency business. So, doon sa travel agency, mayroon akong ticketing office. We call that yung City Art Travel and Tour. So, doon sa City Art Travel and Tour, using yung natutunan ko sa academy about franchising, so doon sa negosyo ko, we got 125 franchise nationwide. So dahil doon, we become number 1 sa travel industry doon sa General Santos City. So because of that, binigyan kami ng airline ng unlimited travel. So we travel almost around the world for free because of our previous, kasi kami po yung number 1. Hit po namin yung quota na binigay nila sa amin. So that's funny because I start of nothing and then we end with something. So not only that, we do another business. We have advertising business. As the time goes, we innovate the business. So instead of traditional business, we innovate into digital. So like online ticketing, like online marketing, ginagawa namin. So far, we innovate another business, yung Sealand Taxi. Yung Sealand Taxi is look like Grab and Uber dito sa Amerika, na pwede ka mag-book ng sasakyan in your mobile phone. So, if I look back noon na nag-start pa ako ng negosyo, pakalayo na yung narating ko. And then because of the business na natutunan namin through the help of our mentors, Steve Gibson, we are able to send our children in a good education. So mayroon po akong 4 na anak, nasa BYU na nag-aaral, yung iba na-graduate na. So that because of the academy. So it's look like a life-changing in our para sa akin, na from nothing to something. So malayo na po yung narating na I cannot imagine in my whole life na mangyayari sa buhay namin yung ganito. Thank you very much sa mga mentors namin, tulad kay Steve. And then today, we have a new friend, Tom Painter. He's a good mentor too. We start learning about yung his Success and Money Foundation. So I'm very lucky to have a great mentor in my life. I never forget that in my whole life, that people in America helping us, simple Filipino, improve our lives. It teaches us about how to invest our money. So, we are so much thankful na nagkakilala din kami sa Manila, yung aking balae, si Sister Melody Ledesma, na she taught me about the investment. So, tinuruan din daw sa ni Tom Painter about how to invest our money sa stock market. And then, I'm so lucky na natutunan ko rin yung stock market and I enjoy it. Kaya sabi ko nga, Kung natutunan ko to 10 years ago, siguro marami na akong pera ngayon because the stocks before is very low. But it's not too late, no? So, kaya sa mga kaibigan natin, so, wag niyong sayangin ang oras natin. Kasi sometimes, akala natin, marami na tayong pera. Pero pag wala tayong naipon, wala tayong investment, so, yun, doon na natin malaman na pagtanda natin na wala pala tayong naipon. So, kaya ngayon, isang natutunan ko sa life is about yung paano tayo mag-invest ng pera. Kaya kung gusto natin na maging maayos yung buhay natin in the future, gawin na natin yung mga bagay na pwede nating gawin ngayon. Kasi darating yung panahon na yung mga bagay na ginagawa natin ngayon, hindi na po natin pwedeng gawin pag magtanda na tayo. Kaya isang magandang blessing to para sa atin, yung Success and Money Foundation. Ang ma-advise ko lang po sa sa mga kaibigan natin ngayon is mag-start po kayo ng maliit na negosyo. But it doesn't matter kung negosyo or employment, as well as na mayroon tayong savings. Pero tingnan natin, mayroon po akong quadrant. Like Robert Kiyosaki, mayroon siyang quadrant. So ito po yung yung quadrant po na natutunan ko. Yung business at saka yung investment. And then, yung employments at saka yung savings. So, dun sa business, pag lumaki yung business natin, so we will invest. Pag malaki na yung investment natin, ibalik natin doon sa business. Mas maganda talaga yung yung mag-start tayo ng negosyo. Kasi sometimes, ngayon, nagtrabaho tayo. And then, pag retired natin, mag-isip naman tayo kung ano yung ating gagawin negosyo. Kaya, if you are planning to do business today, gagawin po natin ngayon. Gagawin na po natin ngayon na magnegosyo. And then, ito yung ma-advise ko po, negosyo, and then investment, and then, ibalik naman sa negosyo yung kita natin sa investment, and then, pag kumita yung negosyo natin, ibalik natin sa investment. So, investments, ito po yung tinuturo ni Tom Painter sa Success and Money Foundation. So, ito po yung mahalaga na matutunan natin kung paano tayo mag-invest. So, si Tom na po yung bahala sa inyo. So, marami po akong natutunan kay Tom kung paano mag-invest sa stocks, kung paano mag-invest sa stock market, kung paano mag-invest sa bonds. Kaya, sundin lang po natin yung mga steps na tinuturo sa atin, especially sa Success and Money Foundation. Malaking tulong po yan sa atin. Hindi lang sa atin, pati sa ating mga anak, pati sa ating future generation. So, hindi talaga kayo magsisi doon. Kasi sa akin, I learned business from Steve Gibson, and then I grew my business, and I was able to send our children dito sa Amerika para dito mag-aral. And then, while doing that, mayroon pa palang mas matindi na training yung madatnan ko when I learned about Success and Money Foundation. Natutunan ko na mag-savings, matutunan ko din na mag-invest sa stock market, and I enjoy it. But I tell you na at the end of the day, lahat po ng market ay tataas po yan. Kaya invest now kasi habang mababa pa yung market. So pagdating ng panahon, mataas na yung market, so marami na tayong naipon. So yan lang po ang ma-advise ko sa inyo. And then, start your business today. Kung kailangan nyo po ng tulong, I am very willing na magtulong para mag-start po kayo ng negosyo. So, through my experience sa business, siguro makatulong po ako na paano mag-start ng negosyo, mag-grow ng negosyo, on any materials po na kailangan ninyo sa negosyo, pwede po tayo makatulong. Kaya makinig tayo sa Success and Money Foundation. Malaking tulong yan sa atin. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, that is actually my dad who was speaking on the video. My name is Audrea, and yeah, so we're very grateful for the many opportunities that our parents have done for us. They have given us opportunities that we have today. And if it were not because of the sacrifices that they made, we would not be where we are today. So like my dad said, um, he was a tricycle driver. That was, I think he was earning like what, $1 or $2 every day. And with his family, $1 or $2 every day is not enough to feed a family, right? And so he did so many sacrifices at that time when they started um their life with my mom. When they got married, they lived in a pig pen. It was literally a pig pen. So what they did is they cleaned it up and then they put some walls on it and they put roof. I think Josh is pulling up the picture to show you, but I don't remember living in that place, but I think my elder siblings did. Um, and our parents taught us a lot of things at that time because today we can't really imagine living in a pig pen because of their sacrifices, we lived quite a comfortable life. We were able to have a good home. We were able to like have good meals every day. We went to school. We they provided us many opportunities as we grow older. And that is because of the many things that they've learned from their mentors. Like my dad said, my dad went to the Academy of Creating Enterprises when I was very young. Um, I remember my mom telling a story. I was still a baby when this happened, but my mom said that when my dad was in the academy, they were there for 2 months. And at that time, my elder brother, he was sick. And I think he was having like convulsions. He was shaking and his eyes were turning white. And at that time, my mom was like calling my dad, like asking, "What are we gonna do? You're there in Cebu." And at that time, we live in General Santos City, which is like an hour flight to Cebu. It was quite far, so my dad couldn't go home. And so my mom, I think it was a very hard time in their lives. They were very poor, and my brother was sick, and my dad was away because he was in the academy. And so those are just some of the things that they sacrificed for us so we could live a better life today. And so that is my family. This was taken, I don't know, 14 years ago. I was 10 years old and I was the fourth child. As you can see, I think this is not a pig pen anymore. This is where we lived in a subdivision, I think 10 years after my dad joined the academy. And yeah, so my dad was a tricycle driver. And after he joined the ACE and he learned how to create a business, he started also doing his own business. And he started with a cell phone store. He did partnership with his state president. And after that, he moved forward with creating his own business, and that is a travel and tours agency. And he called it City Art. And he had a story about it. But maybe he can share it in a different Zoom meeting. But yeah, so they did a travel and tours agency, and in the video my dad said they did a franchising business to that, and so they had over 100 franchises in the Philippines. And because of that, that actually helped us have better lives as we grow older. I remember we went to a private school. We learned so many things. Our our parents, they really strive their best to give us a comfortable life. They bring us to piano lessons. I learned how to play piano and my siblings as well. And they also learned many different things that they want to do. And those were available to us because our parents did sacrifices at the start of their marriage, despite being very poor. And so um, our parents always tell us, and I think most parents tell this to their children, especially if they started in a very humble life. Um, our parents tell us that they want us to enjoy things that they didn't enjoy while they were growing up. My parents both lived in the mountains. They were farmers, and life as farmers in the Philippines is really hard. And so they went to the city. They want us, their children, to live a comfortable life. They don't want us to kind of experience what they had experienced because it was really hard. And they want us to go to school. They want us to go to a great school. And so, like my dad mentioned, I have two siblings who are studying BYU Hawaii right now. My sister just graduated there 2 years ago, and now she's doing her master's at University of Utah. Josh and I are living in Rexburg, Idaho. I go to BYU, Idaho. And looking back, I don't it's hard for me to imagine like my dad being a tricycle driver. I don't think he imagined 24 years ago that this would be where our life is at right now. Um, and so we're very grateful. And that's a photo of them like showing this is the pig pen. There were literally pigs living in that place. And so they put some walls on it. Of course, they cleaned it. They put some walls and then they put some roof. And that's where they lived for a few years. And so there are three things that I just want to share really quickly, like three things that I could think of on how our parents like gave us better lives. And the first one is it's because they took risks. And it was very hard as a young married couple who had nothing, like my mom and dad, but they took the risk. My dad went to the academy for 2 months. That's a long time to be far away from your family. Like I couldn't imagine Josh being far away from me for 2 months. That's a long time. And having kids at that time, it was harder for them. And like I said, my brother was sick at that time, but my mom was very diligent, and they inspire me a lot. Like they're very persistent, they're courageous, they have like the strength that I could never imagine they would have at that time as young married couples. And for them to have to go through those so much struggles because they grew up very poor is amazing for me, because they're my parents and they were great examples to me. And they took those risks. I remember my sister, the one I mentioned, who is studying her master's at the University of Utah. She used to sell tomatoes in the neighborhood, and that's what she did when she was very young. Those tomatoes were some of the things that my parents have grown around their house. And my parents were farmers, so they grow their own food. And those are just some of the things that they strive to do. So they don't have to spend a lot, is that they strive to be self-reliant as well, even if they don't have a lot. Um, and so I remember when I was a kid as well. So when my dad started doing his business, after all that he learned from Ace, so we finally have a car. And so he would bring us to school in the morning, and then the next thing that we would see him is at dinner time, because all day he would be busy working. And that's like our daily lives as I was growing up. He would bring us to school, we would see him at dinner, we would sleep, and then the next morning he would bring us to school again. And that all day my mom and dad would be busy working for their business. And so that time, um I learned the importance of taking risks because of their examples. And so, secondly, the second thing that I learned from them is that they taught us to dream, and not just to dream, but dream big dreams. And as we were growing up, they always ask us like what we want to be in the future. And so that taught us to, to think big, that our lives is just bigger than the four corners of our home. And as young as when we were in primary, like we were very young, we had dreams of like, oh, when we go to college, we want to go to BYU. We want to go to Brigham Young University. We want to study in the US. And those are things or opportunities that would not have been paved for us if it were not for my parents. They taught us that, oh, these are opportunities available for you. And all you have to do is you have to do good at school. You have to do your best. And we're going to support you with whatever you want to do. Just do your best. And, I think a lot of parents wants to do that for their children, but I think sometimes we think poverty is a hindrance, but my parents taught me that there's always a way, and a lot of people can have these opportunities before them when we learn to take risks. And I think a lot of our friends in the Philippines, they are also doing the same thing, and they want their kids to have better lives. And that's what we enjoy right now. It's because of the sacrifices of our parents. And so that taught me a lot growing up, that having big dreams make a lot of difference in our lives, because if you have something that you look forward to, like all of you who are here right now, you are joining here for a reason. And maybe one of that reason is because you want your family to have better lives as well. You want to learn something. You want to learn how to make more money. You want to learn how to use your money wisely, because eventually you want your family to be comfortable in life. And I think that's what my parents were thinking. That was their goal, to have their kids live a comfortable life. And yeah, I think it's important for us to maybe ponder sometimes what's our dream in life? Like, what is our end goal? Why are we doing the things that we do right now? And when we know the why of what we're doing, then that is our motivator. That's what's going to motivate us every day to do what we do, because eventually this is going to bring blessings and opportunities to the future generation. And it's this a three generation now in our family. We don't live in a pig pen anymore. I think we live a pretty comfortable life. We don't have to worry about um the food we're gonna eat like they used to when my mom and dad started. Um, and so I want to share the last thing that I learned. There are a lot of things that I learned from my parents, but the last thing that I would share is that they taught us to never stop learning, and they encouraged us to really pursue education. They encouraged us to go to school, to go to college. And I remember growing up, there were a lot of people visiting our home. And I was so confused, like, what are all these random strangers doing in our home? And then as I grow older, I realized that those are people who are looking for opportunities. They went to my parents because they want to look for jobs. Maybe they want to learn something. They want to learn how to create a business. And so that taught me, like, all these people who are coming to my parents, they want to learn more. They want to continue learning. And I think that's why we're all here as well in this live class, is because we want to learn something. We want to continue learning, and we want to make more money. We want to improve our families' lives. And if it were not for people who are our mentors, who are like Tom or Steve, or just any person who are there who are helping us along the way, I think we would not be able to achieve a lot if it were not for them. And so those people who visits our home, they were eager to learn. And I think all of you are eager to learn as well. That's why you're here. And so that taught me to never stop learning in whatever stage of life you are in, whether you're, I don't know, 10 years old or you're 100 years old. I think there's always so much to learn. And so my dad is also a great example of that, because when he heard about the Success and Money Foundation, he also started investing. And so right now he actually enjoys investing in stocks. And I think that is also his way of, saving up for the future, because they're like 50 something now. And I think when your parents turned 50, you just stop counting their age anymore. They're just, 50 something. But yeah, those are the three things that I learned. They taught us to take risks. They taught us to dream big dreams. And they taught us to continue learning, never stop learning. And right now we enjoy a lot of those things. And yeah, that's all I have to share. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome. Something that's interesting in what you're saying about taking risks. You know, taking a risk isn't just throwing the dice and hoping that it works. Taking a risk is studying something out, making a plan, going and trying something, and then see if it either is successful or not. It's okay to fail. If you're not failing, you're not pushing the envelope. You're not doing enough of that. So we don't take just crazy risk where we just throw the dice and hope things, you know, work out. We plan it out. We make a plan. We execute it. We learn from it, and then we do it again. And the real goal is that once you've figured out that cookie cutter, once you've figured out how to make something work, once you've figured out how to do it, then you just do it over and over and over again. How do you simplify and then multiply? Now, the amazing thing about Peter and Angie Caro is their story is very similar to many stories. My mom and dad were pretty much the same. They were both born in mom and dad were born in 1930, which was right when World War II was almost going. Hitler just started to come into power in 1928, and they grew up during World War II, and they didn't They didn't have anything. They didn't even have the two nickels to rub together, but they learned, they studied, they talked to other mentors, and they put a plan in action, and they worked hard. And because they worked hard, they created a better life for their children, in turn, which has created a better life for their grandchildren, which has created a better life for their great grandchildren. You give them how to fish, you feed them for a day. But if you can teach them how to fish, you can feed them for a lifetime. But if you can teach them how to teach, you can change a whole generation. And Angie and and Audrey and Josh are taking the things they've learned from Angie and from Peter, and they're teaching other people and teaching it in a way that people can have a better life, because that's really what you're here for. So there's many stories just like that. And these are stories that are real. And if you'll follow the systems that they do and do what they do, then you can be successful. So Audrey, thank you so much, you and Josh and Peter, for that wonderful presentation. We're going to be right back with our next class. Thanks everybody.